Hi, I got Bill Cates here with me today, who has written Beyond Referrals. I'm holding it up right now, and the book is, well, it's a little old, so I've kind of come to you a little late after it came out, but you know what? It's still very relevant information. One of my most favorite books. I've probably read this truthfully about 3 or 4 times. I
Wow.
flip through it, I pull stuff out, I've used some stuff. I find it very informative, and the unfortunate part is I didn't get you on sooner to actually talk to you, but I appreciate you being able to come on and stuff. First thing I always ask is, how can someone get a hold of you?
Well, thank you. First of all, the book isn't that old. It's only about a year and a quarter. So I don't want anybody to think it's like an old
Well, yeah,
tome.
yeah.
It's been around
Sorry,
forever.
that's a wrong way of putting it, Bill. But yes, it's
There's
sorry.
no problem. So, my website is referralcoach.com, referralcoach.com. And obviously, I specialize in helping salespeople and businesses generate more new business, new clients or customers through referrals and personal introductions. And we'll get into the difference between a referral and a personal introduction as we go. So, and you could just shoot me an email directly. I love people, I love it when people contact me directly with questions or success stories. So it's Bill Cates, not Bill Gates. I know some of you did a double take on that one, but it's Bill Cates, Cates, at referralcoach.com. And I'd love to hear from you.
Excellent.
Good.
Appreciate that. And I'll put that in my posts and everything so that people can go to the website and find some more
Good.
information out and everything. Hey, so the first thing I'm going to ask you is why would someone want a referral or get a referral?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, a lot of benefits. I think one of the prime benefits these days is it's just so hard to reach people, right? It's hard to cut through all the noise in the marketplace. The all the internet has done is inundated us with everything. It was already bad before the internet. So, how are you going to reach people, and how are you going to reach people the way they want to reach you? Most businesses, most of their prospects would prefer to meet them through a referral, right? So you want to build a business based on how people want to meet you, which is a recommendation, a referral, an introduction from someone else they already trust. So it's the prime way to meet people. And what happens, of course, when you come through a referral, you're coming with some borrowed trust, and that borrowed trust makes everything go easier. So the sales cycle is usually shorter from referrals. The average sale in most industries is usually a little larger because of that. Price becomes less of an issue. I'm not saying the price issue goes away, but it becomes less. Why? Because they already know someone who's worked with you and has made the decision to work with you. And all of that gets easier and easier and easier. So obviously easier to close a sale, and actually easier to become referable. Studies have shown that a client or a customer that comes into a business through a referral is about 2.5 times more likely to give a referral. So what happens over time, as you make this a prime method for your prospecting and client customer acquisition, it gets easier and easier over time, and it's like that snowball rolling down the hill, gathering steam, gathering more snow, and really takes on a life of its own. So many reasons to work from referrals and introductions.
Absolutely. Look, what as I was talking to you earlier, I mean, I have a lot of kind of newbies that are into the sales racket, and they're trying to figure their ways through. But what's a simple way that someone can use to generate referrals? What do you think? Apart from buying your book and reading it and taking all the information, which I'm holding up here, by the way. But what's a simple way that someone can start looking for referrals?
Yeah, well, the flippant answer would be, well, ask. But if I just said that, then people say, well, yeah, but I don't want to look like an over-aggressive life insurance agent. And no offense to life insurance agents, I work with a lot of life insurance agents, and I tell them the way they've been taught to ask referrals over the years has kind of polluted the waters for the rest of us because it's been fairly aggressive. So what we want to do is we want to find a way to be referable in the first place, right? We have to be referable. We have to make sure that we lead with value. We can't just be looking to make the sale. If all we're trying to do is make the sale, well, we will make some sales, but we may not do it in a way that we become referable quickly in the relationship. And then once we're developing that referability, then of course we want to be appropriately proactive. And there's two main ways to be proactive to get them flowing. One is to plant seeds, to plant referral seeds, different little things you can say early and throughout a relationship that will generate referrals without asking. And then we teach a method called the VIPS method, which is really how to ask in a way that's proactive but not pushy, not begging, and still creates a good result.
Good stuff. Appreciate that. Hey, look, one of the things that you've got your perpetual revenue service. So, can you kind of walk us through that quickly and just kind of give us an idea of what that is?
Yeah, and it's a perpetual revenue system,
System,
and
sorry.
that's no problem. And I didn't invent the dynamic, but I kind of put a name to it so people can get it and make sure they do it right. So everybody wants perpetual revenue. Everybody wants a perpetual flow of new prospects and new customers or clients. So it starts with service, right? We got to serve our clients well, bring great value, create engaged relationships. Once we do that, then of course, and that can happen very quickly, then we want to get the referral. But the referral is not enough. That's why the book's titled Beyond Referrals, because the referral, hey, Chris, George recommended we talk. That's not a voicemail that you're likely to return. So we need to get introduced. And once we get introduced, then of course we have to set the appointment. And how you set an appointment from a referral is a little different than how you might set an appointment from another lead source. So you want to use the referral dynamic to set more appointments. And then, of course, once you set the appointment, you want to make the sale. And those are the four quadrants, right? Service, referrals, introductions, and making the sale. And when we do that, then what happens? We serve someone well, and then it goes again. And so it becomes perpetual. And the neat thing about referrals and introductions is because a client or a customer can give us more than one referral or an introduction, then what happens is not only is it perpetual, but it also grows exponentially at the same time. So it's a pretty powerful dynamic if you make the decision to build a business in this way.
Bill, one of the things that I wish I had really done earlier, and I've started doing it, over the last few years, is actually putting referrals in place. Had I been doing that from the day one, 25 years ago when I started in sales, I'm sure it'd be a whole different world now. But it's if that's the only thing that I can actually interject into this thing is anyone who watches this is that if you're new or anything or you're stuck in a rut, start asking for referrals, right? So.
Yeah, you don't have to wait till long in the relationship if you're doing a good job. What's the worst thing someone's going to say? I'll think about it. Give me some of your car. That's the worst thing.
Yep.
I've never seen anyone lose a client or a customer from asking for referrals as long as they didn't hammer them over the head for it. And a lot of folks new in the business quite often aren't fully in touch with the value that they deliver. So if you are new to sales or new to your company or new to the industry, get in touch with the real value that you bring to people. And that's where this referral stuff needs to come from, right? It's not about you trying to build your business. It's not about how you get paid. It's not an obligation. It's about the value. Your customers, your clients see the value in the initial process. They see the value over time. You know the value. How can we bring that value to other people? That's the overarching attitude that we want to bring to this. And when you believe in that value and want to bring it to other people, then you can be enthusiastic without being pushy.
I guess one of the offshoots of this too is if you ask for a referral and someone says no, that's a red flag that says, am I not doing something right, or is there not getting delivered? What do you see? What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's possible. No question that's possible that we're not referable yet. Sometimes some people do ask a little too quickly. So I have a little thing I teach. It's called the value discussion, and what we want to do before we actually ask for referrals is check in and say, how's it going? How's our process? You find value in this process. So there's that check-in. And now, if someone doesn't want to give us referrals, it could be that we're not referable, but I wouldn't assume that because they have their own issues around referrals. Some people are very private. Some people have had bad experiences. So we should never assume anything. That's why whenever we get a resistance, if you will, an objection, someone doesn't want to give referrals, the first step to handling any kind of concern or objection is to explore a little further, to get to know what they really mean by that. Someone says, well, I really don't like to give referrals. That's fine. I know some people don't. Tell me more. Mm-hmm. Have you had a bad experience? And then so you're just learning. And if they say no, bad experience, no, I'm not really private, now you probably know you haven't earned a right yet.
Yeah.
But it's checking in first, and that really kind of solves that problem.
Absolutely. Hey, the one other one. This is one that always comes up, I think, and it's, do you compensate people for referrals? And what's your take on that?
Yeah. I've worked with so many different companies and so many different industries, and I'm of the believer, generally speaking, it doesn't make much of a difference. It isn't necessary, and in some cases can kind of cheapen the referral process. So, for instance, I am a big believer in saying thank you for the referrals, and I think if you want to send a little something, whether it's a gift card to the movie theater, or if they're into home improvement, to Home Depot or Lowe's, or whatever. It's not about the money. It's just to saying thank you for introducing me to someone. You don't wait for the prospect to become a client. You just do you reward the giving of the referrals. I've worked with a lot of different kinds of companies, home improvement companies in particular, where they'll have different types of incentives in place. A property and casualty company where they have kind of an incentive in place. And the truth is, it really doesn't create more referrals. People give referrals because they like you, trust you, want to help other people, maybe want to help you a little bit too. And you don't even really need to do that if you're doing a really good job. And so that's now the one place that these rewards can come into play is if you have a salesperson, or if you're a sales manager and you have a sales force that are not engaging in the referral process. Sometimes that gift, that gas card, that whatever it may be, becomes a tool that the sales rep has access to, and it helps them get into the conversation. So sometimes it can ease the comfort level of the person asking, but isn't really necessary, and can sometimes cheapen the referral. You really want the referral to come from a place that they take his call, take her call. They did good work for us. Absolutely.
The other thing too that you discuss in the book is it's a referral network. Give your concept on having a referral network. What are you talking about there?
Sure. Well, we're talking about people in the community that become champions for our business. Some people use the word advocates. Ivan Meisner, part of BNI, talks about contact spheres. Every business has its natural contact spheres, to quote Ivan. It's every business, so for financial professionals, it could be CPAs or attorneys. For a life insurance agent, property casualty, right? For in the printing industry, it could be people who sell other graphic arts services and related services to that company. So whatever your business is, you have these natural contact spheres. And these are the types of folks that you want to get to know and have them get to know you, and you get to know them. You want to make sure they fully understand your value. There's that referability again. See, these folks, these networks that we create of folks don't necessarily experience our value firsthand. So becoming referable in their eyes sometimes takes a little more work. You just don't sit down and have lunch with someone and all of a sudden expect the referrals to flow. They maybe need to know you a little bit more. And don't assume just because you give someone else referrals, they'll give them back to you. They will only do it if they feel good about you and the work you do. And so those are relationships you nurture over time. However, a center of influence, a champion like this, can be worth a whole lot more than any one client or customer once you build that kind of relationship where it's an ongoing flow of opportunity, you to them and them to you. And don't assume that you necessarily have to give them referrals for it to work. There are some people in the world that just like to be a resource for people. I suggest you be a resource for people, and don't always be tied to the reciprocity. Sometimes we give here and the reciprocity comes here. But to get referrals, give referrals, create these champion relationships with people in the community and these contact spheres. And that's another part of the component to getting a lot of referrals.
That's excellent. I mean, excellent advice, Bill. It's I give so many referrals out, right? It's
good.
I don't wait for them to come to me. It's, and I always hear that, and I'm sure you would say this sort of stuff, is that someone says, I wish I had this, or I could do this, or this better. It's like, oh, go talk to this guy. He's the guy that can help you with that sort of stuff.
That's it. Just listen with ears to help, right? Yep. And it may have nothing to do with what you sell.
Absolutely.
And sometimes when you can help them with that first, then what does that do? It creates more engagement. See, who gives referrals? Engaged clients, engaged customers, people who see the value, they like you, they trust you. And here's a neat thing. When you give them referrals, just any service provider, referrals for their business, whatever it is, that creates more engagement. Mm-hmm. When they turn around and give you a referral, then that creates their feeling of engagement with you as well. So all of this leads to this snowball effect of making it easier and easier.
It's like the law of reciprocity, man. It comes back to you. So
It does.
it's so hey, one of the things you go into in the book too is kind of just technology and where things are going. So one of the things I wanted to bring up was LinkedIn and how powerful of a tool that could be. And I have my own opinions on how LinkedIn can be used for referrals. And in fact, my company gets so mad at me. They have cold calling like Fridays, right? And I refuse to cold call. I haven't cold called in 14 months. I've maybe made 3 cold calls in 14 months. The rest of it is literally just leveraging referrals and also using LinkedIn. What are your thoughts around using LinkedIn as a potential referral weapon, I guess is a good way to put it, or tool?
Yeah, I guess I prefer tool, but nonetheless, I call LinkedIn the big blue introductions machine. It's designed to create introductions. People use it for recruiting, for finding jobs, for finding employees, for finding new business, for finding all kinds of resources. It's different than other social media. If you look at Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest and some of those things, that's kind of word of mouth. And for some businesses, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But word of mouth isn't often or always enough to drive enough business your way, enough prospects, or the right types of prospects. So we have to be proactive, and that's where LinkedIn comes into play. And so I recommend, and by the way, the same principles are at hand here. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn is just a tool, right? They have to know you, like you, trust you before they will introduce you. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do cold prospecting on LinkedIn. You can, but you have to be very careful, because if you just, hit someone quick with a sales pitch on LinkedIn, it's very rare that person will engage with you. If you know something about them, if you guys are part of a similar group together on LinkedIn, then that might work. But the better way to do it is to target a niche, a vertical market of some sort, and then use LinkedIn to get introductions to those people. So let me give you a very specific example of how this can work. Amy is a financial professional in Nashville. And so her niche market is Vanderbilt University, right? Large university in Nashville. And so she links with her clients, she connects with her prospects that she's had some sort of a conversation, and she connects with all these centers of influence and champions in the community. And then she'll do a specialized search on different departments within Vanderbilt University, and she'll see the connections, right? She'll see that some of her primary connections have primary connections with these other people, so it's a secondary connection for her. Mm-hmm. And then she just reaches out to them and says, I see you know George Smith or Professor Smith. How do you feel about introducing me to him? And that's how, she's killing it right now. She says that 75% of the time she gets an introduction. Here's what happens. She'll send Bob a LinkedIn message, say, Link, how do you feel about, Bob, how do you feel about introducing me to George? And 50% of the time, Bob says, sure, happy to, and boom, she gets the introduction. About 25% of the time, Bob will say, well, I'm connected with George, but I really don't know him that well. So it does nothing. And then 25% of the time, and here's the cool part, Bob will say, I don't know George that well, but there are a couple of people I'd be happy to introduce you to. So she told me 75% of the time she gains a connection through LinkedIn. A lot of LinkedIn experts will tell you, and I do this myself, to make the initial connection with LinkedIn and then take the conversation to email. Because it's just a little easier, it's a little less cumbersome. But LinkedIn still has some novelty. I've had prospects that don't respond to an email, and I shoot them a message on LinkedIn, and lo and behold, I'm having a conversation with them.
Yeah. I find it. I use it the exact same way you said. Is find that second connection for places you don't want to try to get the people to get in. And I find almost literally every time I do that, and I ask for that connection in, they'll actually facilitate it. It's just, I'm amazed at the amount of meetings I can get that way. It is hands down one of the craziest things that I've ever seen. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. That's the best way to look at it, right? So hey, I got to be cognizant of the time. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about is one of the things I thought was just excellent in the book. By the way, you did mention Calgary in the book, so I got to actually, that's where I'm from. So I got to put props up that you actually would mention Calgary in the book. That gives me the warm fuzzies. But the one thing that I found in the book here was the "Don't keep me a secret." Mm-hmm. Can you give just if you want to give your information where you can on that. But I thought it was just a phenomenal, way to potentially get introductions.
Well, it works quite well. And let me tell you a quick story. So I've been in this business teaching folks how to get more referrals and introductions for 20 years. And probably a year into it, just after my first book came out, I was doing a program. I do a lot of speeches and seminars. And a guy came up to me afterwards, as happens a lot, to share what worked for him, which I love it. I learn a lot that way. And he says, here's what I say when I'm working with a client, or I'll just say, don't keep me a secret. And I go, whoa, that's like brilliant. Right? And so I've been teaching it ever since. And I didn't create the phrase, but I popularized the phrase. It's a title of, in fact, if you'll indulge me.
I'll indulge any day.
Yeah, it's a title of one of my books.
Yeah.
Don't keep me a secret.
Yeah.
And Beyond Referrals, I think, is the one you want. But nonetheless, it's just this Don't Keep Me a Secret does three things actually. First of all, it will plant the seed for referrals for later. So later someone's having a conversation connected with the type of work that you do, and they think of you, and boom, Don't Keep Me a Secret kicks in. You let them know that, you're open for business. You're never too busy to be a resource for others. Sometimes it turns into referrals on the spot. I've seen many, many people get referrals on the spot just from saying, don't keep me a secret. And also it acts as kind of a barometer. One could call it a trial close around referrals, right? You say, hey, don't keep me a secret out there. I'm glad you're seeing the value in what we're doing. Don't keep us a secret. And you see how they react. And some people say, oh yeah, sure, we'll definitely keep you in mind. Now, maybe that's someone you ask referrals the next time you get together because they're kind of open to it. Other people say, well, okay, I've had some bad experiences with that, but okay. So now you want to be a little more careful. So it gives you kind of a barometer. Now, to say, don't keep me a secret, there's a little humor on that. There's a little smile, isn't it? Hey, don't keep me a secret out there. So if you don't have a sense of humor, don't use that one. There are plenty others you can use. But it's a lot of fun, and I've seen many, many people get just incredible results over the years, just from that little phrase.
Yeah, it is a good one. Hey, I got one that might work for you too.
Please.
Have you ever heard of Contextually?
Contextually?
Yeah, it's like a CRM program. You're where are you, Baltimore area, or are you in the?
I'm in south of Baltimore, north of DC. Go
Okay.
Nats, south of Baltimore.
Okay, these
Yep.
guys are out of Washington DC, and
Oh.
they've created this little CRM tool. But it's one of the tools. It's a tool that I found is absolutely incredible because it's the way I would want something to be a follow-up system. So what they do is, as opposed to looking at someone as an account or a contact, they look at emails that you send. And they say, who is this person? Put them in a bucket. And you can put them in multiple buckets and different things. So what I've done with it is I put it in buckets, and I've got a referral bucket, which sets up to kind of just basically remind me to ask these people for referrals. I do it every 4 months. I don't do it every month because that's a little overkill as far as I'm concerned. But there's a lot of people in there, and it circulates out. So I've got a multiple across here. Works really well. It's a great little application. Contextually, worthwhile looking at. The one thing I always ask of authors when it comes to their books, which I'm holding up again, what's the best piece of advice that you can give as it relates to your book Beyond Referrals?
Wow, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
There absolutely is, and I actually agree.
Labor of love.
I absolutely agree. So,
in addition to what I said about having the mindset, the awareness of the opportunity, making sure you're referable, being proactive, asking for referrals, there's a little strategy I teach near the end of the book that I got from a guy named Joe Palumbo. So I didn't even invent it. He calls it the benefit of the benefits, and it goes like this. As a salesperson or a marketer, we know that we talk about features and then we talk about benefits. And the problem is a lot of people stop there, but there is a next step. And the next step is the benefit of the benefit, meaning when you say your widget can do this, will save you time. All right, widget does this, feature, benefit, saves you time, good. Then you want to say to your prospective client, how do you think that would play out in your world? Or does that resonate with you? Or if you could do that, what would it look like? There's a lot of ways to say basically the same thing, but what we're trying to get them to is think a little bit about the benefit. What does that benefit actually mean to them? And then when they answer it back, what are they doing? They're actually selling themselves on the benefit. So the benefit becomes real. rather than just a bullet point, saves time, makes money, does this, does that. You don't do this with every single benefit, perhaps, but you know, how does that resonate with you? How do you think that would play out? How do you think your colleagues will react if that was possible? And so then now they're talking about the benefit of the benefit, the impact of the benefit, and that is like a magical thing that I discovered from John that I just had to share with the world, because most people don't think about that, and it's a very, very powerful way to move the sale along.
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, I mean, you're putting the prospect, putting his shoes, putting himself in the shoes of using the product or the service to understand, here's what it works for me, right? And then all of a sudden they're thinking about it. It's a different mindset. Excellent. Right. Bill, is there anything that I should be asking you that I missed?
Yeah. Ask me why people don't ask for referrals.
Actually, good question. Why don't people ask for referrals? I actually had that on my list. I forgot to ask you that question. So,
well, it's mistaken assumptions, lack of confidence boils down to fear, right? When we don't feel confident about something, what do we feel? We feel fear, doubt, lack of confidence. This isn't rocket science. There are some ways that are better to ask than others, but the key is that we are appropriately proactive. And so the problem is a lot of people are afraid of appearing pushy. A lot of people are that they're going to hurt the relationship. A lot of people are afraid they're going to look needy, begging, hat in hand. A lot of people are just plain afraid of rejection. They can cold call till the cows come home, but once they have a relationship with someone, they don't want to risk it, right?
Yeah.
And so these are all limiting beliefs, or all mistaken assumptions. Someone says to me, Bill, I don't feel comfortable asking for referrals. I go, okay, so? Yeah, okay, you don't feel comfortable. I get it. So, what are you going to do about it? Does it mean you just don't do it? Look, when you feel a fear, do you retreat, or or do you get going?
Yeah.
And so I help people get going, right? I help them become aware of their fears or doubts or uncertainties. And then what can we do first? What can we do second? How can we get past that, at least to some degree? Yeah. And you may never become the referral machine that you want to be, but you can do more than you're doing now.
Absolutely. Hey, Bill, you know what? I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Going to hold your book up again. As I tell everybody, it's an excellent read. There's so much information there. I've got it like written in. I've got it dog-eared. I got it all over the place here. That's like, there is so much in here. We just scratched the surface. I could probably talk to you for like 8 hours and figure some of this stuff out and really get into it. But I highly suggest people just go out and get your book and read it. Do you give? I'm assuming you get hired out to help organizations and stuff with referrals and such. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh yeah, well, I give keynotes, motivational speeches. I give seminars and training. We have an online training system. We have my book, Beyond Referrals. I also have Don't Keep Me a Secret and Get More Referrals Now. So we have all kinds of resources and tools. I even do coaching with executives and sales managers to create a culture within their firm, and with individual salespeople. Some individual salespeople, usually the top producers, like to get coached. They like a little one-on-one. So there's, if you'd like to get better at referrals, go to referralcoach.com or shoot me an email, billcates@referralcoach.com, and we'll see. Do we have a tool? Do we have a way to serve you? I'm not a pushy kind of guy, but I believe in what I do. Yeah. And if there's a match, I'll let you know.
Excellent. Bill, once again, thanks for your time. Stick around for a couple of seconds before